In this module, we mostly go over the object-oriented programming, object definition, and the relationship between classes. So in this module review, which is our second module review, we add object-oriented programming to the slides. And if you compare this review with the previous one, we still keep all the development framework, syntax, data structure, and programming pattern, but we did add a lot of object-oriented programming information. Still the same Java development framework that you need to create a project package and class in Eclipse, create the main method, and you need to get user input via scanner or dialog box. Then generate output via console print, and you need to know how to process file. Java language syntax. Everything is still the same as before. Language components like class, method, curly braces, control structure like if else and switch, loops for while, do, and methods. And if any, we have more method discussion in the object. For example, constructors, then method override, overload. Let me just add it. Override versus overload. We will cover this, we will mention this again very soon when we discuss about method object. Then Java's data structure, variable definition and the primitive data types and the string. String by itself is a special type of object. So we added some information on object as in this module. We discussed about fields and methods, instance versus static, public, private, and protected, and accessor and mutator. Now I'm going through this, and as I go through this information, you need to have an immediate reaction on what these are and how you should be able to use them. Then we go through how to write a class step by step. You need to create a class framework, create the main method, add static field and the methods, add instance fields, add constructors, setter getters, and the business logic method. This should be the way you write any class code. And you should always follow these steps until you get really familiar and become an expert. Then you can do whatever you want to do. Some information about object-oriented programming, mostly constructors, how to use this, how to use super, and how you override existing constructor. And what if you want to use the superclass constructor? Inheritance from other classes. What's the difference between override and overload? What is polymorphism? And also interface. What is the interface? What kind of method it defines? How do you utilize the interface in your own class and enumerate it? The rest of the control structure are actually the same. We didn't go through much information, programming patterns later on. So if else, for, while, do, which one do you choose? Define a method. How do you pass arguments and get a method return value? Now remember how you are going to use object. And when you pass argument, object argument to a method, what's the implication? How are you going to change the original value in the caller method? Common programming patterns, same slide, but still input use do while loop to validate, use while loop to validate, to validate a while loop for the has next method to validate whether this is the end of a file and the processing the file line by line inside the while loop. Swap variables. How are you going to swap? Can you just directly put a variable 1 equals to variable 2, variable 2 equals to variable 1? Do you need a temporary variable in between? And string processing, for example, find total number of vowels and palindrome. Both requires you go through char one at a time. Now there are string functions. There are more and more string methods added to Java class library, standard library, but still you need to know the algorithm behind it and understand how to process the string.